Hello, welcome back to my page. This video is about the court process for adopting through foster care. So one thing that I want to mention before I forget, because it's an important detail, is that parental rights are terminated and transferred at the same time. So until your actual court date for adoption, the birth parent still has parental rights. So up until that court date, they can still visit the children. They can still have a say-so in what's going on with the children. They are still a part of your life. So for me, that was not the case because she chose to not do that. I'll just say it that way. She chose to not do that. However, I am aware that with other people who were in this process before me with this same family, she chose to be very active in contesting the adoption, which they do have a right to do. Most of the time, I don't think that contesting it is something that they'll find a lot of success with, since if your child is up for adoption, that means that you have reached a point of no return, and you're about to lose your parental rights. So they can contest it. It can hold things up. It can cause slight delays, but that did not happen with me. And I would have to imagine that it does not happen with a lot of people. So court process. So what happened, like I said, for me, court was online, but I'm pretty sure it goes almost the same way for people who have court in person. Mine was online because it was during COVID time. So basically, I'm there, my attorney is there, the attorney that was appointed to me by Washington, D.C., free to me by the foster care agency. The birth parent's attorney was there. She was not present by choice. She could have been present. The social workers and the judge, that's who was present. They went through some of the case things, all things that I had heard before, because we had actually had, I think, 2 other hearings before this final hearing that was for the purpose of finalizing adoption. We had already had some hearings where we just discussed where the case was. So in this particular hearing, the attorneys discussed the findings and just kind of go over the case and what has happened up until this point and things like that. So the attorney, even though the birth mother was not even present, the attorney was like fighting for her, which was so odd because she lost her rights for a reason and had not, well, she was losing. Remember, they do not lose them until the adoption. But she was losing her rights for a super valid reason, and she had parental rights up until that day, but she did not exercise those rights. She did not visit them. She did not call. She did not ask about the children, nothing. And at this point, they had been living in my house for a year, and they had had no contact with her for, I think, 2 or more years. But for some reason, the attorney is there fighting her case, which was weird. But basically, the judge just asked me questions like, what do the girls like to do? What do you enjoy doing with them? Describe a day with them in your house. What is that like? How are they doing in school? How are you meeting their educational needs? How are they doing socially? How is their health? Have they been to the doctor? You know, do we have evidence of medical care and that they're going to school and all those things? So really, it was very simple, very straightforward, very easy for me. I just answered questions very truthfully. And then the judge was just like, I grant this adoption. And that was like pretty much it. It was very it was easy. I mean, the attorney was, like I said, she was throwing dirt in the game as much as she possibly could. But my attorney, and also the agency has an attorney, and the children have an attorney. So those are other attorneys present. They were able to answer the questions that she was throwing out for some odd reason, and they were able to, validate everything and kind of shut her down. And that's their job. So my job was just to sit there, be patient while they did their back and forth, and then answer basic questions that, if you're doing this stuff every day, answering the questions is simple. So my process was super, super easy. And then it was over. It was really as plain and simple as that. I sat there, answered some easy questions. Judge said, I love it, grant the adoption. And that was it. They were my kids. I just had to wait a couple weeks to get the adoption decree in the mail, which is a couple-page document. New birth certificates with my name on them. I had to go to, what is it called, Vital Records, to get to pick it up when it was ready. Yeah, so my name is on my children's birth certificates as the mother. The only one thing I don't like, and it kind of makes me feel weird, is that as a single person, on their birth certificate under father's name, it says unknown. So of course, unknown. Like I just had 2 kids and don't know who their daddy is. But, how often do I have to show a birth certificate? Not often at all. Like I gave it to the school. The school knows that they are adopted because I had to show that documentation. And the reason why I had to show it was because I had the option to change their names. So I changed, obviously, both of their last names. And then I changed one of my children's first name. So she had some medical forms that had her old first and last name. And then they both had medical forms with their previous last name. So I had to show and justify why their name was different. So the school knew that they were adopted. So I didn't feel uncomfortable with the unknown on the birth certificate because the school understood what was happening. People ask me why did I change my daughter's name. So I'll address that quickly before I end this video. So my daughter's birth name was a name that no one ever called her by because no one could pronounce it. Their mother was American from DC. Their father was from Sierra Leone. He was African, and she had an African name that nobody could pronounce. I can pronounce it, but for privacy, I'm not going to say what it is. So she had never been called by that name. I didn't particularly like the name. She had no attachment to the name. And so when I was given the option, I asked her I told her what her name was because, believe it or not, at 6 years old, she did not know what her name was. She was called by a nickname, and I asked her, actually, I did not even ask her. When they knew that they were about to get adopted and it was about to be finalized, they both asked me, so what's my name gonna be? And that opened the door. And then I explained to them that their last name would be changed to be my last name because now they are part of this family. And then I asked her about her first name, and she said that she wanted to change it. So I gave her a long list of names. I said, pick a name. And she kept saying, whatever you want, mommy, whatever you want. And I was like, no, you pick the name that you like. And so we settled on a name. So my other daughter was asking too, what is my name going to be? And I was like, well, you've always been called this. And so we're going to keep your name what it is because you've been called that for 8 years. So we're going to keep calling you what you've been called. So I only changed one of their first name. I changed both of their last name. So that's how that whole thing went. So those are some of the options that you will be asked in court. If you adopt older children, they may not want to take your last name. They may want to hold on to some of their family identity. It's okay. It's just the name. We know you their mama or daddy. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. My kids were little. They wanted my last name, and that's just how it ended up being. So that is the court process for adopting from foster care. Don't forget to subscribe.